Squeakers. Crazy little peepers. There they go. Decided they were going somewhere else. Little peepers. We stand little peepers here. We stand little peepers. We stand butterbutts. We stand scrub jays. We stand mourning doves. We stand them all. Thank you, baby. Shit.
Bukuchi.
Bukuchi. Mmm.
你喜欢我的热咖啡吗？
你喜欢？对。我喜欢你的热咖啡吗？ No, ma is
That's a question.
Question, yeah. 我喜欢你的热咖啡. What birds don't you stand? None. I like them all, man. My Uncle Sidney doesn't like a seagull. But he used to be a sailor, so they learned not to like a seagull. I like a seagull. I'm trying to think, are there any birds I'm like, get out of here, you little fuck. I can't think of none.
Cool pigeons too.
I like pigeons. I like a pidge. Oh, the release of Terrifier 3 ended up being a hit. Do you think we can have a rising of unrated movie releases? Maybe new life in the industry? Maybe. Maybe it's finally time for us to get rid of the MPAA and stop letting them have input on what filmmakers make.
Because that's part of what like holds some movies back, is there's like different rules for R-rated movies and how they can be advertised and yada.
Yep. And if you choose to do an unrated movie, there are a lot of movie houses won't even show your shit. Terrifier gets a pass because it's such a known quantity. They know people are going to show up and watch it. But it's almost like a soft barrier to even getting your movie a theatrical debut if you can't get it rated. I think they just changed it to the MPA. I don't think they did. MPAA is Motion Picture Association of America. Maybe they just dropped the America. Starlings need to go back where they came from. What's wrong with a starling?
I guess they did.
They just dropped the A?
Yeah.
They're just like, no, we rate all movies everywhere.
Yeah.
Got it.
I guess it makes sense. Like, it's more of a global market now.
No, it isn't. The United States still owns it all.
I mean, more people want to watch movies that aren't from the United States in United States theaters.
They should all be.
Substance was technically a French film, I think.
If they like foreign movies so much, why don't they go live in that foreign country is how I feel about it. You live here in this country, you watch MPAA approved movies only. Sorry, MPA only. They displace native birds. Oh. That ain't none of my business, though. That's bird business.
Yeah, it's not like you hate cats, because cats have been destructive.
Cats will straight up eat little birds. Do I hate a cat? No. It's the circle of life. Okay? Bird business, birds encroaching on each other's, that's bird business. That ain't none of my business. I stay out.
I don't think seagulls were intentionally spurred either.
Mm-mm.
Pigeons, yes.
Yes.
Not seagulls.
You hate cats, Abby? Why you hate cats? How do you hate a cat? They're so majestic. And they're so sweet.
Oh, it's a Hummer.
That's on. Zoop. To be fair, a lot of cats are assholes. Yeah, but they're too cute to be mad at, is the point.
TJ's favorite cat is the most destructive.
He's evil.
You let that corn pop do all kinds of shit to you, and you isn't even your cat.
I know. Corn Pop he gets his way. He does what he wants. I think you're just infected by the cat's mind parasite. Well, yeah, I mean, they give you the toxoplasmosis parasite or whatever, and then that makes you love them. But look, I can't uninfect myself. You know?
It would be funny to do an onion nuggets that was just cat goals and nothing but cat goals.
Oh yeah, onion nuggets, all cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops, all cats.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't make much money though, unfortunately.
I don't know. You never know until you know.
Maybe that could be like a new goal idea, like a special edition onion nuggets. Like if you hit a stretch goal, a whole onion nuggets is a special edition in the typical format.
Yeah, that might be fun. Yeah. Cricket's a black cat. He's very sweet. Very majestic.
He puts his head down for kisses.
You lean in for a kiss, he goes, "Plant it right here, please." Have you seen any Crips and Bloods recently? I don't know. Probably not. I love ragdolls, my favorite breed for sure. Ragdoll cats.
Yeah, they're kind of big and they're called ragdolls because they're very they have a temperament of it's more easy to pick them.
Oh,
up
they
and
like to
carry them
be.
around and shit.
They like to be manhandled.
Yeah.
I had a black cat growing up who was the best boy. My roommate's cat soured my attitude towards them. Oh, I see. Okay, so you just have a roommate that's got a shitty cat. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I'm not a cat hater. I do think cats get away with a lot of bullshit they shouldn't. I'm a dog guy at the end of the day. Yeah. I don't know, man. I think animals in general get away with a lot of shit they shouldn't because they're cute. They ride that cute all the way out.
You learn with a cat that scolding doesn't have the same effect that it has on a dog.
Yeah.
There's no point most of the time.
Yeah. Do you put tracking device to make sure the cat isn't lost? Yes. Both Dino and Cricket have a little satellite tracker on them.
Yeah. I mean, the main issue was just our door was fucked up and our fence is fucked up. So.
He just had 2 or 3 little incidents this year where we left the door ajar for whatever reason and he slipped out.
The door just didn't shut all the way. Pushed it.
Yeah, pushed the door open. So it's like, I just got sick of having to worry about it. And now, if he goes outside of our little house anywhere, it blows up our phones and we know exactly where he is. And the same thing with Dino. Dino I'm less worried about because even left to his own devices, Dino very rarely will go more than 20 or 30 feet from us. really only in the backyard where he knows where he is will he even wander away from us. If we're out in public, I mean, it's only because of really other dogs and other people that I bother putting Dino on a leash, because, you know, I'm not worried about him bolting off and getting lost. No. D is not the type of dog that'll try and run away and explore. He might think he wants to do that, but he does these intermittent checks for where we are. You can watch him. You know, he'll get off on his own thing, following his nose, and then he'll look, and if we're not there, he's coming for us. Where do you get your weed from? The weed fairy. She comes down and she goes, bibbity bobbity boop. Yeah, and it really is funny. Dino is like the least intimidating dog, but of all of the different specialty breeds that he make up his genetics, the one that expresses the most is that hound cocker alert dog. Like, he's got hound, which is like a working dog that alerts, that, like, you know, hounds are supposed to go like track things. He's got cocker, which are more of like a guard dog, and he's got both of those types of dog, and that innate kind of genetic training that we've bred into these dogs, that's his job. Like, you know, if you look at certain like working dogs or whatever, they all have a job. Dinor's job is watching us, making sure nothing creeps up on us. You know what I mean? For better or for worse.
Like, it's hard to get him to snuggle at night because he wants to be in there, but he wants to like stare at the door the whole time.
Dino will, like, he wants to be in bed with us, but he will never like just chill out and snuggle with you, because he has to orient his head towards the door. Just in case anything comes through, he needs to be alerting on it quick.
And I don't think switching to the other side would help, because then you'd just be watching the window the same way.
Yeah. I mean, he has to be able to see the entrances and the exits. He has to look at it. What's the strangest pet you've had? Boogie, my little miniature schnauzer that I had years and years ago, was far and away not just the most crazy pet I've had, literally the craziest animal I've ever known. It's why I think Dino is so easy. I'm so easygoing with Dino, even though he's got a lot of idiosyncrasies and a lot of little, you know, Dino's got his own little thing. It doesn't bother me, I think, as much as it might bother another person, and I lay that squarely at the feet of Boogie. Boogie was the most insane animal I've ever known. Yeah, but she was very lovable, but she was crazy. Crazy, antisocial, mean. Like, I couldn't let her near kids because she would nip at you. Couldn't really let her near adults that I didn't trust, or like, didn't, you know, like if you were gonna sue me for my little dog nipping you, you can't come over. You know what I mean? If I don't trust that, like if Boogie nips you, you're gonna go have a fucking field day about it. You know what I mean? Like, I had to just keep her alone. And she was every bit just like the wrong type of dog to have, especially if you're gonna have kids around you and shit. Like, I definitely would not have taken her to be with somebody else's dog or with somebody else's kids.
Well, she wasn't allowed to be around other dogs.
She wasn't allowed to be around anybody.
I meant like because of the shot.
Yeah, because she couldn't be vaccinated. So she had to live a life that was very much inside most of the time, and she adapted to it. That became her world. And anybody that came in there, if you didn't pass her vibe check, and God knows what her vibe check was, by the way. It had nothing to do with whether or not you were a good person or anything. I'll tell you that much. But if you didn't pass her vibe check, she'd fucking go after you. You know, maybe not like super aggressively like a big attack dog or anything, but she'd fucking nip at you, growl at you, let you know that you're like, I don't want you around me, Mitt. I don't want you anywhere near me. Yeah, that was the dog that couldn't be vaccinated because her first puppy shots almost killed her. She had an anaphylactic reaction to them, like severe too. Like anaphylaxis is not necessarily like unheard of when dogs get that. Like they'll get sick feeling, puny feeling. Some of them get like runny noses or little like doggy cough or whatever when they get them. They have like an anaphylactic reaction. She had a deadly anaphylactic reaction. She would have died had they tried to inject her again. So she could not be exposed to areas that had a bunch of other dogs in them. So even if I found like a dog park that didn't have any dogs in it, I could not take Boogie there because, you know, there's going to be dog shit. There's going to be dog piss. There's going to be dog dander and dog remnants that are, you know, if that other dog isn't vaccinated or was recently around a dog that isn't vaccinated, that has parvo or has this, it's getting right on Boogie and she'll die from it. Her immune system was so weak that the fear was that she's going to get sick from one of these things and there's going to be nothing we can do for her. So she was just, you know, a lot of people, like what Dr. Sahota told me was that a lot of people that have dogs like Boogie end up putting them down. So he always praised us when we brought Boogie because he was like, he would always say, your sweet little baby, she needs a very special owner. She's very special. She loved him too, which is hilarious because she hated everybody. But the doctor that saved her life when we took her to see the vet, which she had to go all the fucking time, she just loved him. Oh my God, she must have known he did her a solid, you know. But yeah, that's what he called her. Your sweet little baby this, your sweet little baby that.
You think that was his first time bringing a dog back?
I don't think it was his first time doing that to a dog, but it was his first time having a dog have anaphylaxis, and he told us that. Like die, like go into like a death spasm due to anaphylaxis. He was like, never seen anything like that before. I've read about it. You know, it's like 1 in a million dogs will have this type of reaction to these shots. So you have a very special little baby. But yeah, I mean, she was great. I loved her a lot, but that was what ended up killing her. It wasn't that she got sick. It was that her immune system failed. Along with the organs that support it. So like her pancreas and her liver both failed. And then her kidneys started to fail. You know, and it was all related to that same problem that almost killed her when she was a puppy. She just didn't get the things like puppies or babies or whatever are supposed to get a certain portion of their mother's antibodies, and that helps them develop their own. And so she may have been just weaned immediately and put on formula, or likely
Maybe
because
she didn't have little siblings.
She did.
Oh, she did have siblings.
She was in a litter of 6 puppies, but she was a mutant. Mm-hmm. She was the runt, and she was white, which it should not happen with schnauzers. The AKC or whatever, the kennel club that does all the dog shows, won't let white, even a purebred with papers, white schnauzers cannot compete because it's considered to be a detrimental mutation. They come out either black or salt and pepper, gray. And when they're white, we didn't know this at the time. It's fucking adorable. If you imagine a schnauzer, which is like a little Scotty dog, you know, with the beard and the goatee and the pointy ears and the black little eyes. If you imagine that, but just pure white.
It's cute, but that's why they don't want to encourage it.
Yeah.
Because it has so many
It
genetic
comes with
problems.
a lot of genetic problems. Yeah. Paul, did your dog and Boogie 1488 share a name? No. She was named after the god of chaos or whatever that Ween worships, the band Ween. Boognish was her full name. But we shortened it to Boogie. And, well, one of the main reasons we shortened it to Boogie, because me and my ex liked calling her Boognish. But it was just hard to explain to other people even what it was. It's like, oh, where did that name come from? Oh, it's a evil demon god that's worshipped by these two dudes that wear underwear on their heads named Ween.
Well, I think animals too, they like a little strong vowel in their name.
It's true. The E.
Like with Dino, I feel like he responds to D more because it ends in that higher vowel.
Mm-hmm. My cute little dog Cricket was all white with one brown ear. The doctor said if she was all white, she could possibly be deaf. Yeah. It's not just in schnauzers. Most dogs are not supposed to express monocolor white ever. It's a sign of genetic mutation in dogs, even though it makes them cute. There are certain dogs that have white fur, poodles, but if you look at a poodle, poodles have black snouts, black paws, and the fur that covers them is floofy. So it looks like they're one color, but if you actually look at a poodle, they're cream colored, brown on certain parts. It's like straight white, like Boogie was, which is not a good sign. You have a long-haired Dachshund. Those are so cute. They drag their draped hair everywhere. They're like little dust mops. They're so adorable. I love little Dachshunds. I've got a thing for them.
I'm sorry you didn't get to meet my aunt and uncles before he died.
They had a little Dachshund. Jack Russells are cute too. Yeah, very like active dogs though. They need a big yard and they need you to play with them 24/7. Yeah. English cream golden retrievers look white, but they're not true white. Yeah. Boogie was literally mono white. If I could show you a picture of her, she didn't have that mottled thing. Like Cricket is a black cat, but if you really look at him,
he's got like little shadow tabby stripes.
Yeah, he's mottled. He's got, there's a red area, there's areas where his black blends into a dark auburn, and he's got different colors in him than just black. He's a black cat. She was not that way. You looked at her, and the only discoloration you would see on her fur is in spots where dogs get it anyway. Her eyes, like in the corners of her eyes, the little around her mouth beard would get little yellows, yellowing from her eating and all of that. But like if you looked at her fur, like her back, her legs, mono white, just like uniformly white all the way around, tip of her nose to the tip of her tail. Whiskers even. Like, you know how dogs have whiskers? And typically, even if your dog is lighter colored, the whiskers are dark black. Her whiskers were pure white. So definitely, she wasn't an albino. She had pigmentation in her skin. It was just a mutation of her hair follicles and stuff. I have two Norwegian elk hounds and a rescue three-legged English setter. We have to go on about 2 or 3 miles of walks a day or they raise hell. Yeah. You've got 3 working dogs. You should get your 3rd working dog a little prosthesis. Remember we watched that whole thing about
Yeah,
doggy
we were watching
prosthetics?
just TV in the hotel room, and they had like a whole thing that was just like PBS shit, and the whole thing was like prosthetics for animals.
Yeah.
They had a pig, crispy bacon that had a little wheelchair.
Yeah, Chris P. Bacon. And he had no back legs, or his back legs were mangled, and so they made him a little fucking back wheels, and he would run around. And then they had a dog. They had one dog that didn't have any front paws, and they made him 2 little shoes to go. Was that Golden? Should get him a little fucking thingy. Get him a little leg.
They had a horse with a fake leg, which
Yeah.
is really weird.
That is weird, and probably like they probably didn't want to bring it down, but I have a feeling that most horses won't take to that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like it's a very short period of time before it gets all discombobulated, so that was a very rare case. I imagine most horses you can't do that.
Yeah.
They even gave an alligator a fake tail.
Yeah, and it worked. It's crazy. Is that pure weed, Paul? Yes, it is unadulterated. I do not adulterate. Paul, do you think Alaska dog sleds is animal abuse? Why don't they use horses?
Well, then it would be abuse of horses too.
Yeah. Well, okay. No. Here's the thing. I think you could abuse dogs in a dog team. Do I think that most people that have a dog team abuse their dogs? No. Do you know why? Because they rely on those dogs. From what I have seen, and once again, anecdotally, watching like documentaries about mush teams and shit. I can't remember the name, but there's some big dog sled race that goes on in Alaska every year, and I watched a documentary on that. Different teams. The people that had these dogs, those dogs were happy, well-fed, loved to mush. They live for it. They're bred for it. So it's like, is it cruel? We watched that thing, you remember, on that same channel, we watched that thing about the bloodhound.
Yeah.
And a bloodhound hounds in general, working hounds, will run themselves to death.
Yeah.
You have to force them to stop if they don't find, because they will literally just keep tracking until they keel over dead. They won't stop to drink because it messes up their fucking scent.
Yeah.
Washes away some of the scent stuff. They won't stop to eat. They won't stop to rest. They'll overheat. They'll freeze, right? These dogs are the same way. These sled dogs will run themselves to death. They will get too cold and freeze, right? So they require that they're the person that has the team to take care of them. You can't ignore when a dog goes lame. You can't mush your dogs too hard to where they go lame. And so I don't think so. I don't think people that have working dogs that work them are doing anything wrong by those dogs. Now, if you're being an abusive piece of shit to your dogs, it doesn't matter whether they're a sled team or not. But it's like, is it abusive for to have a herding dog and to have them herd 12 hours a day? Well, I have a feeling if you could ask that dog, the answer would be, fuck no, it isn't. I love it. It's the only thing I love.
Yeah, the argument would be, should we be breeding dogs that have such strong instincts?
Exactly. That's a different argument. Is it ethical to breed dogs that are so wrapped up in working for us that they will literally just kill themselves doing it?
Or will just be completely unsatisfied if they're not put to
Mhm.
work. Because if
That's
you
a-
have a working dog and you try to make it a lap dog, it's going to be miserable.
Oh yeah, it was like that dude that lived in our apartment complex back in Louisiana that had that Great Dane puppy.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what is your plan? Because you realize these dogs, they need so much space to roam. They need to have a territory. They need to have this. Like, what are you going to do with that animal in a fucking apartment? So yeah, but that's a whole different conversation. The ethics of breeding and the ethics of selling to people who aren't going to fulfill their dog properly, right? That's a whole different conversation.
But if you have a dog that exists with that instinct, it's going to be the most fulfilling that instinct.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's why I don't overcorrect Dino on his shit. It's like, yeah, we'll put him away when he's barking or being too loud. But it's like, I'm not trying to get that out of him. That is his working dog mentality. He is a guard dog. Dino, that's why I want to get chickens. I wonder if Dino will make the connection.
Yeah.
If we get a chicken coop, I wonder if Dino will make the connection, like, I got to protect them too. And he'll want to watch them and want to be around them. It's totally possible that he finds something in that he really likes. But right now, Dinor's Dinor. He loves to keep us safe and to keep the yard and the house secure of intrusion. Cool. Doggos yearn for the mines and mailmen. Oh yeah. Yeah, they want to be worked hard and they want to chew mailman ass. Yes, I get it. Okay. I don't know if you burn more fat with muscles. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure I learned that at some point, but I don't remember.
Nutrition science is still pretty wishy-washy.
Yep.
I think just because it's a little ethically dubious to like put people on extreme diets.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's
Well, I mean, unless that person agree, like you have to find a person that's willing to agree, like that fat dude that we
Yeah.
covered, Happy Humphrey.
yeah. He agreed to just be like locked in a fucking hospital
Right.
and only eat certain kinds of
And he agreed to be a guinea pig. Like
that's a
feed-
sample size of one.
Right.
Like you'd have to get
But they-
1,000 people like him to do the same thing.
But they did learn a lot from his case. But yeah, you're right. They would have to do that to 1,000 people, and good luck finding 1,000 to 800-pound people that'll let you lock them in a room and feed them. Paul, how do you feel about pit bulls? I am not a pit bull alarmist, but you have to know, right? It's like the other end of the coin of what we were talking about earlier, right? You get an Australian Shepherd, and you want that to be a lap dog. That Australian Shepherd is going to be a nightmare for you. They're going to chew up everything. They're going to chew on themselves. They're going to be a problem dog, all right? Because an Australian Shepherd was bred to herd animals out in the wild. It wants to be out behind sheep, moving them around. That's what it wants. That's all it wants. When you have a bully breed, you have to understand that these are dog breeds that were initially bred as guard dogs and then as fighting dogs, right? The fight instinct in a bully breed has to be fostered. When you get a bully puppy and you raise that bully puppy with you and your wife and your 2 little kids and another little dog, the chances of that pit bull going and mauling somebody are about the same as any dog snapping and mauling somebody.
Yeah. The danger with pit bulls is just when they do freak out, it's more destructive.
Right. And they are more apt to freak out if you're adopting a pit bull that was raised in a fighting environment and had its teen years where they were like, it's hard to adopt them, even though they're sweet animals. You have to be more careful with a bully breed, especially if you've got children, than you would be with another dog just off the face of it, right? But especially when you're adopting an older dog. But the hysteria about bully breeds is way overblown. They are, when raised properly, the sweetest little animals. They're some of the sweetest dogs, some of the most loyal, goofy, dumb, floppy.
They're kind of lazy too.
They're not working. They're not traditional working dogs. They're meant to plop and watch.
Yeah.
They've got guard dog instinct, and then they've got this attack instinct, right? That is melded with that. So they're super happy just laying on the couch near their humans, right? They're great dogs, great family dogs. And the people that fucking go nuts over bully breeds just don't understand animals and the responsibility that humans have to do right by animals.
Well, like, the thing is, there's certain things that some people will do to other dogs that isn't ideal, that makes it really unideal for a pit bull. Like,
Right.
leaving your dog out in the yard. It's
Yes.
not good, period,
Right.
but if you do that with a pit bull,
Yes.
it exacerbates it.
Yes. And that's true of other dogs too.
Yeah.
The less you provide for them what they need as dog breeds, the more antisocial they are going to be, the more little problems they are going to develop. Some poor little dogs turn it all inward, and they'll chew their fur off, chew their feet, to the point where they give themselves sores and shit out of anxiety. And other dogs take it down the aggression lane, and it's more likely that a bully breed is going to get aggressive when they're mistreated than an Australian Shepherd. An Australian Shepherd, not to use them, but just as an example, they don't have that aggro shit.
But they have, like, that anxiety, you mean they'll tear shit up in your house.
Right, but
they're not going to tear up you.
Well, they might.
Yeah.
If you're mean enough to them and they're
Yeah.
raised improperly and stuff, but it's way less likely for an improperly cared for Australian Shepherd to kill a toddler, right? But a bully, because it's more likely, it's like correlation equals causation, right? Bullies that are abused are more dangerous than an Australian Shepherd that's abused.
Or not even
So
just abused, but, like, neglected.
Abused, well, that's neglect is abuse,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, like, you don't have to necessarily just be mean.
No.
Just, like, ignoring them. Yeah.
Throwing them out there, not properly raising them, not properly socializing them, all of that comes down, right? But there are people, it's like, do you treat the disease or the symptom? People look at those numbers, which I'm not denying. Bully breeds are more dangerous than other dogs if you just look at dog bite incidents, right? If you think that that's because bully breeds, you're treating the symptom and not the problem. The problem is improper handling of dogs, improper dog ownership, right? Zero responsibility placed on a human being to provide reasonably for an animal. That was another thing that came up on that little show we were watching. Was somebody was talking about how, like, animals. Oh, she's pretty too.
What are you doing?
You know, that's where Dino likes to go over and eat. She's gonna shit or something, isn't she? Yeah.
Yep.
It's a poop time. She's very pretty though. I love that.
I think that was a piss.
It might have been a piss, yeah. She's very pretty. Little calico stray.
Yeah.
That's what they say about AR-15s. Yeah, and I agree with myself on those too. I do not think that AR-15s kill people. I think people that use them improperly or leave them laying out so other people can steal them and use them kill people. So I'm not necessarily like a guy that is for, like, saying you can't buy an AR-15, because I know that weapon is used for other things other than shooting at people. It's a hunting weapon or a varmint weapon. It's a good
Or it's just a sporting
sporting weapon, target shooting weapon, self-protection weapon. I know it's not just a weapon to mow down kindergartners. So why would I want to restrict a responsible human being from owning that? Right?
Well, the thing is, a lot of the mass shootings are done with handguns.
Mm-hmm. Which are way more ubiquitous than
like
rifles.
They might not kill as fast, but they're a lot easier to conceal than a big old AR-15.
True. You know, there's a responsibility when you take ownership of certain things. Certain things can be dangerous if improperly handled or taken care of. Guns, dogs, farm animals, right? All there, and probably a number of other things. Cars. right? Vehicles of any kind. All of these are examples of things that can be profoundly dangerous and deadly if improperly handled, right? But I don't think the answer is you don't get a car because other people are fucking unsafe with it. You don't get a gun because other people are unsafe with it. You don't get a bulldog because other people raised them wrong, right? It just doesn't track for me. And maybe that has something to do with the fact that I was raised around both dogs and guns, you know? Like I had working dogs when I was growing up, when we lived out in the country anyway, you know? And Goldens. Paul, isn't a gun just a tool? Yeah. Yeah. It's just, now, I mean, of course, there is regulatory discussion to be had when you start to talk about different types of guns, right? An AR-15 is one thing, a missile launcher is another thing, right? There's no sporting use for a missile launcher, right? You can take an AR-15 out, you can do some fucking, you know, coyote hunting with it, varmint hunting, you can do some small game hunting with it, you can target shoot with an AR-15, right? There are ways that you can use and enjoy an AR-15 that are not spraying up a bunch of people, right? But what sporting use is there for a grenade launcher? What sporting use is there for a missile launcher, right? Or a giant 50 cal, right? You start to have the argument starts to get tough to make the larger and more destructive the weapon, right? There's no sporting use for a big giant mounted 50 cal, right? There's no sporting use for a bazooka. Nobody's doing bazooka target shooting. It's just not, it doesn't make sense.
Checking she didn't drop a turd.
She just didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
She was like, piss right in front of you. I don't care. Right. So that's the way I've always felt about guns. Is like, if you can make a home defense or sporting argument for the gun, and you can demonstrate that you are a reasonably responsible human being, and you are willing to take the responsibility for what happens with that weapon, I don't think that there should be anybody standing between you and any gun that you can hold in your hands, really. You know what I mean? Any ballistic weapon that you can hold and wield yourself, from a machine gun fucking thing to a handgun to a little purse pistol, I think you ought to be able to go get one. As long as you have demonstrated up until that point that you're a good citizen, that you're not a violent person, that you don't transgress against other people, and you are willing to go through some training so you know how to properly handle the weapon, so you know what expectations are on you. Here's how the weapon is stored. Here's how the weapon is handled. You've demonstrated that you can do that. Enjoy your new shotgun. Enjoy your new AR, whatever it is, right? The instant you fuck up with that weapon, it's stolen out of your house and it's found that you had it unsecured, somebody in your house gets hurt with it because a kid was allowed to play with it, not only do you go to prison if the infraction is large enough, right? But once you come out, you come home to a weaponless house. Everything you've got that could be considered a weapon has been confiscated and destroyed. And you are no longer allowed to be in possession of a firearm from that day until the day you die. You lose your right because you have demonstrated that you abuse the right to the detriment of other people. That's it. How do you feel about automatic weapons? That's a tougher one, right? I personally think they ought to be regulated and available, just like every other type of weapon. There's, to be quite honest with you, a huge difference between automatic and semi-automatic, but functionally, not really.
I mean, I'd say an auto handgun is more dangerous than an auto long.
Auto handguns are like boutique shit. They don't even make those. 90% of handguns that aren't revolvers are semi-auto, which means as fast as you can pull the trigger. Pop, 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 right? Which is why I'm saying semi-auto and auto are not that far.
Yeah.
Auto is pull the trigger, hold it down, and rounds will cycle until the mag is empty. More dangerous, I think, if you want to own one, should come with a commensurate jump up in licensure and safety training and expectation.
Yeah, because like there's certain, like, you can use a gun like that for home defense, but you gotta think different. Like, you don't want to shoot an intruder and through your house to the neighbor.
Right. Exactly. The larger caliber weapon you're using to defend, that's why people say shotgun.
Yeah.
A shotgun loaded with fucking deer shot, buckshot, is your best weapon. It's not that you can't hurt a neighbor with it. It's that you're less likely to.
Yeah.
Because you're shooting out a cloud of small caliber projectiles that are going to hurt something within 15 feet of it.
But if you're shooting an AR, it could go straight for the wall.
Oh, yeah. Or a big handgun, a 45 or something. That'll go right through a fucking car and kill somebody behind a car. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the larger caliber weapon that you own, the more dangerous it is for you to use that weapon for home defense, depending on where you live. So that should be part of this.
Yeah.
If you, and I'm sorry to say it, if you live in a neighborhood where you've got
where your neighbors are like
15 feet
yeah.
between you and your neighbor's home, you can have a 9mm or a shotgun. Pick your poison. Or 22 handgun, something small caliber, because that is less likely to go through your bedroom, your kitchen, your fence, and into the neighbor's bathroom and kill somebody. So maybe that should be part of the licensure process. And you know, obviously you can go in and reapply if you move. So I used to live out here. Now I live in the country, and here's my address, and I have a bigger piece of property. My nearest neighbor is 700 feet, you know, whatever. Right? Then you start making an argument for getting higher caliber stuff and being able to keep that for home defense. This idea that we should ban knives and revert to spoons is ridiculous, because even in the UK, people usually keep it to themselves. The knife thing is like, you can't stop people from sharpening a stick and stabbing somebody with it. You can't ban sharp things. One of the reasons why knife violence is bad in the UK is because they have such stringent fucking laws against firearms there that it's not feasible for most people to get their hands on one. So as it turns out, people want to kill people even in societies where handguns are banned. You know what I mean? Like, people still want to hurt other people, whether there are guns around or not.
How do you feel about, like, switchblades being banned in a lot of places?
I think it's bullshit.
Yeah.
I think it's bullshit, fear-mongering, because they think, oh, what if a kid gets a switchblade? If a kid gets a switchblade, you do the same thing that if a kid gets a gun. You find out which parent bought it. Mm-hmm. Who facilitated this weapon to this person? That should be the question, not, oh, I don't know. Switchblade, if you want to have one of those in your pocket for personal defense, I don't see any fucking problem with it.
You think it was like movies that kind of like created the panic?
It was movies
the
and
with their little
well, I mean, it was a genuine problem. People used to cut each other up with it and stab each other and stuff in these street fights, and you know, gang violence became a thing in the 60s and the 70s. And you know, back then guns were not as ubiquitous on the street, and so knives, brass knuckles are another thing you can't own. And all that is just a big hunk of metal shaped like your fingers, so you put your fingers through. right? I think that's stupid.
Remember your ninja star was confiscated?
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what they think, like how much damage you could do with a single ninja star.
It was nunchaku too.
Yeah.
My dad, we went to Tijuana, and I thought I was, I was a little boy. I liked cool ninja shit, and there was a place that sold a real ninja star and a real wooden nunchuck with a chain between it. And my parents were gonna get me that shit. And we went back through customs on our way out of Mexico, and they were like, no, 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 no. And they fucking fucked it up right in front of me. They took the ninja star and had like a little rubber mallet, and were like, prink, 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 bent all the ends and threw it in a bin. And then they took the nunchaku and took bolt cutters and went, cut the chain and threw it in a bin. And I was like, man.
They should have just sold you a DIY nunchuck.
I mean, you could probably pretty easily make a fucking nunchuck.
Yeah, like here's the chain, here's the sticks. Don't throw them together. Boom, nunchucks.
Yep. Yeah, dude. Confiscated my ninja star and my nunchaku.
Like I see you can kill one person with a ninja star, maybe.
I mean, you'd have to be pretty dead on to kill a motherfucker with a ninja star. You wound one person with a ninja star. So it's basically a rock.
Yeah.
It's basically a heavy rock, You hurt one person with it. Yeah, it was sharp. It was sharp because here's what my dad told me that I could do with it. He had a tree. It was a big old oak that he would throw a knife at. It was, it wouldn't even penetrate into the tree. It just hit the bark. And so he told me I could take the ninja star out there and fling it at that tree because there's nothing behind it.
Don't do it around your sisters.
Obviously, don't throw it if, your sister's running around. That was what they told me I could do with it. Just flip it at a tree. So it was sharp enough and it would have worked for that. It was definitely like a ninja star. Like, I don't know if it was standard issue or whatever, but it was sharp. It would have hurt somebody if you flung it at them. Let's put it that way. Do you think OJ did it? I know he did it. It's just implausible to think otherwise. Right?
The amount of conspiracy that it would require. The cops aren't smart enough for the level of conspiracy they allege.
In fact, it's the opposite. The cops are retarded. Yeah. That's what led to the reasonable doubt being opened in his fucking criminal trial. Yeah. There's just the sheer incompetence, stupidity, and intransigence of the LAPD, still employing people like Mark Furman, who are old 50s, black people stomping cop. Hate all blacks, N-word cop.
That was the beauty of their legal defense.
Right.
They played both sides. They played cops are retarded, and they're also genius conspiracy theorists.
Johnny Cochran.
Yeah.
It's his job to raise a single reasonable doubt. So he
was going multiple. Yeah.
That's the thing. He threw everything at the kitchen sink. So that might not work on you, but maybe it worked on him. Yeah. I'm gonna throw every conspiracy theory, every angle at this that isn't O.J. Simpson flipped out, got drunk, killed his ex-wife because she was screwing around or having sex with a younger man, and he didn't like that, right? Anything that isn't that, anything that isn't Occam's razor, I'm presenting it. There was it doesn't get talked about much, but there was a whole cocaine theory that was put forward by them. There was cocaine found at Nicole Brown's residence, and they found some friend who would testify that she had some Colombian hookup. So maybe this was a hit. Maybe she was a cocaine distributor.
Yeah, the thing is, the defense's role isn't to prove the alternative, it's just to present the alternative.
Mm-hmm. They even presented the alternative that it might be, if it was him, it might have been a crime of passion. Mm-hmm. Do you know for a fact
that this was a premeditated murder?
Do you know for a fact that Nicole was killed at the same time as Ron Goldman.
Oh,
Exactly. How well can you just demonstrate that?
yeah, because that's
What
another-
if somebody somebody, they never said OJ, what if somebody came and discovered that Ron Goldman had killed Nicole Brown
Yeah.
in a fit of rage, and this person, reflexively killed him? Is that possible? Right?
Because the nuances of the law too is like someone can kill someone but not be guilty of the crime they're being charged with.
Well, there's different layers of murder,
Yeah.
right? There's murder in the first, which is premeditated. That means I think about it, I'm going to go kill this person. I do things to facilitate it, and I go do it.
Yeah.
Murder in the second degree is like crime of passion murder, or it's like it's murder without premeditation.
Mhm.
So that's your like I lashed out,
Mhm.
or it can be like I went over the top defending myself and
Yeah.
killed the person or killed another person. That's second degree. Or I was drunk and I ran over somebody. I clearly wasn't out to kill.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's manslaughter,
Mhm.
which is one step below
And
that.
there's negligent manslaughter.
Negligent.
Where you accidentally kill someone. It's like,
Right.
yeah.
There's all kinds of different layers based on the circumstance.
Like with the fucking what's his name? That guy in was it Wisconsin? I'm trying to remember his fucking name.
What did he do?
Like he went to this protest. He brought a gun and was.
Oh, Kyle
Yeah,
Rittenhouse.
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't deny that he did it, but they made the self-defense argument.
Right,
So he did it, but he wasn't guilty,
right, right,
according to the jury.
right. Yeah. "50 Shades of Murder," yeah. But it makes sense. Not every murder is the same, right?
Yeah,
Not every.
someone that accidentally runs someone over with their car because they're drunk probably isn't a bloodthirsty fiend that will kill again.
Well, I mean, they might negligently kill again, so you have to throw the book at them.
Yeah.
But you
You're
don't
not
want,
going to treat them the same way
Right.
as like a serial killer.
you don't want to judge them by the same metric as a dude that just goes nuts and kills his whole family or something. That's different layers here.
That's what I mean. Like he wouldn't have. It doesn't mean he's a bloodthirsty guy.
Hmm. It's like murder lasagna.
Yeah.
They're different layers of cheese and meat, okay? I don't know the fucking song, but slasher movie killer who only kills through drunk driving. Yeah.
That would be an interesting legal hypothetical.
It would be, yeah. Just a dude who's addicted to getting so drunk that he accidentally kills people. It would be
Or
strange.
makes it look like an accident.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like they go around at night looking for pedestrians that are like kind of hidden, or like there's a plausible argument that they didn't see they were trying to cross.
Yeah. There was a family annihilator case in Seattle yesterday. I hadn't heard about that. This terminology, family annihilator, comes from these fucking true crime channels. On the evening of October 6th, family annihilator. There was a family annihilator, dude. Did you see the Road Rage movie with Fat Russell Crowe? No, I did not. These are always bad things. Have you seen this? Have you heard this? Let's clean it up. Because if the answer is no, it wasted my time reading a whole ass paragraph of bullshit, bro.
In pursuit of nothing.
And 90% of the time with you motherfuckers, I don't know if we're just on different wavelengths, but the answer is no. 90% of the time. So just don't ask. Get a job, dude. I'm doing my job, dude. I've been a podcaster for 10 years, dude. I probably make more money than you do, dude. Get banned, dude. What is a podcaster? A person that does what you're sitting here watching and enjoying for a living. So a person that's so good at doing this shit that people throw money at them for it. That's what a podcaster is. Dude, I'm like a unicorn, bro. People don't realize this, but I'm a fucking unicorn. I'm a 1 in a million motherfucker. You know how many people want to make money making a podcast? You know how many people can claim they've been doing it for 10 years straight and that's all they do to make their money? 1 in a fucking 10 million, maybe? Come on, buddy. I'm a unicorn. I'm a goddamn freak of nature. Okay?
And that's with no ads.
Yeah, no ads, no help from YouTube, no monetization, all crowdfunded. How did you react to the 92 riots at the time? I was 12. I really don't remember reacting to the 92 riots all that much.
Yeah. The 24-hour news cycle didn't exist yet.
No, I was 12 too. Like, we had other things going on. I don't know. I was outside playing at 12. I was like fucking riding my bike at 12. I was driving the fucking quad all over the property at 12 and running around my fucking dog at 12.
You forget California is massive. Something happening in LA doesn't necessarily mean everyone in California cares about it.
I was aware of it. I distinctly remember seeing it on the TV while we were eating dinner one night. Mm-hmm. As far as like, what was my reaction to it? Probably something akin to, wow, that shit's crazy. Anyway, like, that was probably it.
Yeah, like something happening in LA in relation to where you were in California is like something happening when the next state over for a lot of people.
Yeah. How did you react to the 1929 Wall Street crash? Bro, I lost everything, dude. My family, my dignity, my home. It was the worst thing that happened to me until Vietnam. That was crazy. Being in the shit. I don't even want to talk about it. Okay? The things we do to each other.
You got out pretty kosher with 2008, though.
Did I?
Like, you didn't lose your job, you didn't lose your home.
Because I didn't have anything other than... I didn't have anything to lose. No, I mean, people that were in my position made out in 2008. Had no money tied up in the stock market. Ooh, folks ain't never been to a petting zoo. Ugh. I don't know how you miss a petting zoo. Like, how do you not end up in a petting zoo? You know, is the question. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Enough. Dude, these birds are crazy right now. You guys hear them? They're everywhere. They're in every tree. It's a whole flock. It's like bird politics going on right now. Mating season? I don't even know, bro. I think they might be migrating. Because these birds here are not what I thought they were. I thought these were little finches, but they all took flight earlier this morning and then, you know, flew around for a while and came back. They landed over here now, most of them. But they're like little blackbirds. I don't know what they are, but they're like darker little, they're not, they're bigger than finches. And they're not usually around. And so I think they might be migratory. And I love that they're around right now because one of the things that they're doing is hopping around branch to branch, gobbling up these flies sleeping in the trees and shit. So them being around is going to help bring the fly population down right along with the temperatures dropping. So that's really nice. They're grackles. Yeah. They're not crows or ravens. That was wild, dude. At my old place that I lived, when I lived out in the country, dude, I had 2 big eucalyptus trees in the backyard, and what they call a murderer of crows would come. Dude, that's a whole different noise, bro. No, these are definitely, yeah, it might be grackles. I don't know. It might be grackles. I really honestly don't know. Ugh. Yeah. I mean, they might be mockingbirds. Yeah, they're definitely, okay, so they just took off again. Yeah, they are small black birds with orange beaks, or dark yellow or orange beaks, black birds. Maybe that helps. Starlings. I didn't really see any iridescence on the coat, but they're definitely, I would say, about the size of a jay, maybe a little smaller than a common blue jay, and black, like dark against the sky, with prominently yellow or orange beaks. but they are everywhere right now. Starlings. Do you use Android or iPhone? iPhone. If other people are saying Starlings, and I'm convinced too, the call sounds almost perfect. Yeah. And they're definitely not around all the time here. So I know Starlings are migratory. So it would make sense that they're in this area temporarily as a big flock of them is making their way south for the winter. That makes kind of sense to me. And anyone invest in the Wall Street stock market? I think anybody that has, yeah, I mean, you got to be a citizen or whatever. I don't know how it works. One of Shakespeare's favorite bird, they have a beautiful iridescent coat that looks crazy light show to use to some bugs and other birds who see UV. Cool. I don't know, dude. I'm just caught up listening to these little bastards right now. I'm just having a fucking field day listening to these little turds right now. There's like all kinds of bird politics going on, you know? They're politicking. Booty club about to fuck up a sandwich. That's a blue jay cracking a nut. He trying to crack a nut. And there's all the birds are wild right now, bro. On the stoop, politicking with family. Booty club about to fuck up a sandwich. All right. One sec. wild. Ooh. 我的老婆喜欢中文书。我的老婆说中文。
My wife speaks Chinese. "我的老公说英文和中文."
Yeah, that's true. We haven't learned French yet.
No.
Or Spanish.
No.
Gotta wait. I agree the AI genie is out of the bottle, but do you think AI disproportionately benefits the rich by providing easy access to powerful tools while simultaneously displacing skilled workers? Disproportionate benefit. I don't think so. And here's why, right? If you look at economic benefit, initially, yes, I think it's going to disproportionate. But like the benefits of AI aren't just locked up by rich people, right? It's going to allow poor people who otherwise maybe wouldn't have access to the tools to make art to try their hand at making pieces of art. It's going to be the jumping off point for for a lot of people to start making art, right? And so there's like there's benefit. Like if you really want to look at who it benefits, I think it benefits a broad swath of humanity. I think the argument that people make is that it benefits a broad swath of humanity at the expense of working artists, is the argument, right? And the reason why I'm kind of dismissive of that argument is the same reason I would have been dismissive of the arguments that people made against the movie camera or against movies as a medium, right? Or Dadaism or existentialism, right? Anytime there was a big change in how art was made and what it looked like and what it sounded like and what it felt like, there were a significant chunk of the art enjoying public felt the need to kind of like reject those ideas,
Well, like
largely.
A lot of the artists raising hell about AI would be making quote unquote fake art, and as people 20, 30 years ago, like these digital artists.
Yeah. That's the thing, is like a lot of the people right now that are feeling like, oh shit, I'm about to be put out by AI because it's going to be able to do this. Like, yeah, you're absolutely right. 20 years ago or 15 years ago, digital artists were looked at like AI.
Like, oh, you're cheating
Yep.
because you can color fill and pattern brush.
Well, they routinely will take things like that dude I was talking to that I did a whole, like I had him on Discord, and he was talking about making digital art and stuff, and he talked about a whole thing. I can't remember what he called it, but it's like some sort of fill technique where you take somebody else's picture, shrink it down, and use it blended as your background for your piece of work. Super common amongst digital artists. Back then, digital artists were like, oh, you're just ripping everybody else off. You can't actually pick up a pen and draw this stuff, pick up a brush and paint this stuff. You're using these tools that auto-correct, auto-fill, right? You're just,
Pattern
right.
brushes.
So you're basically just ripping off artists doing things that it takes us real skill to do. Well, now everybody has gotten over that moral panic about art, and they're treating AI art like the same thing. The truth of the matter is, people that weren't boomerish about digital art made a fuck ton of money being at the front edge of that. Are you just too cold to be out here, D?
Poor cold
Your
naked butt.
your naked butt, man.
Go on. Nope. Like, I remember my ex, like, figuring out pattern brushes on a tablet for the first time, and it was, like, total game changer.
Oh, yeah, it's game over. There's so many little tools like that. And really, what digital art did was make art accessible to a bunch of people who couldn't afford oil paint, canvas, classical training, and how to use such, right?
And traditional artists that embraced it found a way to do it more efficiently.
Right, exactly. And people that got really good at doing it made a fuck ton of money, right? And so right now, we're at the cusp of another one of those sea changes in how art is made. And the people that have fully embraced AI and are using the cutting edge tools and really training themselves how to refine that art within that AI, right? Prompting, those people are going to make a fuck ton of money. And everybody that sat on their hands and bitched is going to make nothing.
And here's the interesting thing about AI art that makes it not gonna completely take over the industry. You can't copyright art made by someone that's not human.
Well, that's going to, I mean, there's going to be a legal challenge at some point that establishes that, because you could say make the the machine needs an impetus to make the art right now. That impetus is a prompt provided by a person. So there's a collaboration between a machine tool and a person. It would be the same thing as saying, like, you know, you like, and probably the same argument can be made. Digital art can't be copyrighted because you can't copyright something that was functionally made by a non-human. Yeah, a human sat there and plugged in integers and stuff, but ultimately it was Photoshop that made the piece of art, right? I think people are going to be able to I think there's going to be there are going to be legal challenges, but I think the precedent is going to lean
the thing
towards.
I'm trying to point out is that they're going to require humans just for the purpose of being able to copyright it.
Well, yeah.
They're not going to like fire everyone because they have to have the impetus of this had human input in order to copyright it.
Right. The tools. So you're talking about like, oh, the machine. Somebody just tells the machine make art, and then they turn it on and it just cranks out a bunch of stuff.
They're not going to be able to copyright it.
Right. But that's not happening. And if it is happening, it's happening as filler art. Nobody's trying to copyright what it's making.
Yeah.
It's happening as filler art for backgrounds or for shitty articles on some shitty website, right? It's not happening to like, oh, I want to sell a framed thing of this or whatever the fuck, right? Nobody's trying to do it that way, and that's not putting anybody out of business either, right? What the way people are using AI art right now is they call it prompting, right? And I think that the term prompter or some derivation of it is going to become way more popular in the next 5 years, because the tools have now caught up with people's expectations to a limited degree. And if you're really talented at manipulating these AI tools and prompting and reiterating upon a theme until it becomes perfect, you can create some explosively amazing things right now. So the people that have embraced this, like I said, people that embraced horsehair paintbrushes, right, are going to make more. They're going to make a lot of money in a world where art is commodity. They're going to make way more money than people who stoically cross their arms and keep making Photoshop art. Sorry. You know, some of those people will still keep making money. Probably the same people that make a lot of money doing it now. Like, there's still going to be a human appreciation for something that's hand-drawn.
But I think the market for, like, the upper end of intermediate little tiny commissions, I feel like those are the people that freak out the most. They're probably going to be out.
Yeah.
Their skill just can't keep up, and that's just the truth.
I have to be honest with you, and I'm not trying to be mean, but it's just like there are varying levels of skill, right? And the people that are drawing $5 portrait anime art, copied straight from somebody else, by the way, literally just lifted the style of anime from whatever anime they're obsessed with and learned how to draw it, and now they want to sell you art of it, right? Which I think that's hilarious. The people bitching about AI stealing other people's art are, by and large, a lot of them just basically did exactly that. They watched some shonen anime when they were 8 and got obsessed with it, learned how to draw the characters from it, and took that art style, and now they sell it to people. Well, you know what? If your art is a dime a dozen now, why are you expecting it not to be a dime 100 tomorrow? Like, what makes you think that kind of art is appreciating in value when you can get it from any millions of different sources? Dude, right now, if I needed anime art made for a project I was doing,
like a shirt or something.
A shirt, a website, or a redesign of something, right? I wanted to do anime shit. Bro, I would be literally spoiled for choice. I would have like millions of people begging me to pay them $10
To do a chibi Paul.
to draw a chibi Paul that looks like every chibi Paul, that looks like every chibi, because it's literally just lifted from an art style that had nothing to do with this person. I would be spoiled, glut of choice, if I wanted that.
If you wanted a furry Paul, you'd have a glut of choice.
Oh my God! Any kind of portraiture that you see, anime this, furry that, furry and anime, or like they do furry art in anime style. So it's really just all anime shit. I learned how to draw anthro animals in anime style. Pay me $5. It's like, cry me a fucking river that those people are gonna dry up. Sorry. You know, but I don't think you were really pushing the boundaries of art. You learned how to copy somebody else's character designs and you went with it. What do you want me to do? Give you a fucking medal? Cry me a river when you go out of business because somebody can do it better? Sorry. You know, I don't think whoever Van Gogh is right now is going to be replaced by AI, right? I don't think the next Van Gogh is going to not happen because AI, right? You know what may not happen because AI? The next Doki Doki 420 artist that does shonen anime portraiture art on commission.
Question is, do you think you are skilled enough with AI prompting that you could make your own chibi Paul?
Fuck no.
No, you haven't practiced enough.
I'm not interested.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like, in the same way
I do trust like TJ to be able to make a chibi Paul with AI.
Yeah, TJ seems to be way more into it than me. He's actually embraced it and he's kind of like learning it. I'm not interested at all. But I'm not interested in making any kind of visual art.
Mm-hmm.
Like I never really have been. I don't want to draw. I don't want to paint. In the same way, I'm not interested in sitting down and doing a Bob Ross painting. I'm not interested in sitting down and learning how to prompt. I think it's cool. You know, I think everybody, I think you should be allowed to do it. Art doesn't need to be democratized, bro. That's the thing. You said AI democratizes art. It's not that I'm trying to be like disagreeable with you. Art is already ultimately democratic. It doesn't need AI to democratize it. That's the thing that a lot of like portraiture artists that we're talking about and shit are bitching about right now, is how democratic art is and how it's being like, they're going, wait, so now somebody's going to be able to do with 1 sentence or 10 sentences what I had to learn fucking Photoshop for? Yes. That's the way it works, bro. You learn an easy, ubiquitous art form, and there's already 10 million people doing exactly what you do. Somebody's going to figure out how to do it easier and outstrip all of you. And that just happened. Yes, it broadens access to art and art creation to people who can't afford or aren't inclined. It's like TJ, right? TJ's a pretty talented visual artist. Like he's got a very good sketch hand. And I think TJ could be a very talented artist. Like if he threw all of his weight behind taking what he already has and pushing the boundary of it, right? But you don't see TJ with an easel and a fucking stretched canvas and mixed medium paints and shit. He's not obsessed with that right now. You know what TJ's obsessed with? Prompting. Making AI music, making AI pictures, getting into the idea of making AI video. TJ's kind of like into all of that shit. That's how he's scratching that itch to create visual art. Right? I have never in my life had that itch, really. I create performance art. I was in a band. I love making music. I was an actor all the way through my fucking 20s. I'm still am. I think if you're an actor, right? I'm an actor. Because I love performance art. Right? That's how I'm drawn to that. I'm not drawn to drawing. I'm not drawn to making art visually. Paint on a canvas. I love looking at it when other people do it, but I have no desire to engage in it. And the advent of AI has not changed that with me. I have little to no interest in learning what I could do with AI visual art tools, right? If you can make an AI generated Paul, would you? No.
What do you think of that one?
Did you just make it?
Yeah.
Chibi Paul. It's pretty good. It's not bad. I mean, it's pretty fucking close.
I was with 2 prompts.
Damn. I probably would have had to pay $20 for that little chibi Paul.
Yeah.
Well, this just create a bunch of artists who can't produce or create without a computer. Those already exist, bro. They're already there. Welcome to the 21st century, homie. There are a fuck ton of artists that if you put them down in front of an easel with paint, they'd be like, damn. But you sit them down in front of a fucking nice computer with Photoshop and all the tools and shit, it creates you some beautiful stuff. It's already there. Already been created. We don't need to worry about it because it's already been unleashed. That part of it. So yeah. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sympathetic to the plight of working people and working artists and stuff. I get it. But I do not think that standing in the way of progress when it comes to the tools and the availability of those tools that people can use to make art is the right way to protect you as an artist. I don't think being a boomer about the new piece of art technology and saying it's not real art or the new style of art and saying it's like...
Well, like, the best way to escape AI being able to recreate it is to create a new style of art.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people can't just say, like, because chibi is a dime a dozen and that's why I can make a chibi so well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly the point, right? It's like, if you wanted a furry you made, I'm a wolf, Amelia the wolf, you would literally be spoiled for choice.
And that's why AI can create it so easily.
Right. Because it just looks like everybody's. Yeah. And there's 20 trillion examples of people desperately trying to look like everybody's. Mm-hmm. And so AI just goes like, okay, yeah, I know, I can do that.
But if you had a totally different art style, like let's say there's an equivalent of, like you said, like Dadaism comes on the scene.
Right.
AI wouldn't have a bunch of examples to pull from.
Yeah. Ask AI right now to make a Dada, to make, excuse me, to make a Dadaist art installation. Now, here's what it could do. Help me plan a Dadaist art installation. And it could tell you, put this in this room, put this on this wall. But as far as it like actually with its hands making that happen, can't do it. Right? So there's a ton of art. Make me a sculpture. Now we're very close with 3D printing.
Yeah.
But make me a marble sculpture. No. Design it. You could show me like what I would need to do to the thing of marble to carve out the sculpture. You could help me plan it. But as far as that AI going like, yeah, I'll crank out one of those. No.
It would be cool if sculpture art came back in vogue again, because I feel like sculpture art kind of fell out of favor.
Well, it's a tough art because the best stone for it is all locked up.
Yeah.
It's like if you wanted to make a giant marble statue like David, you would need $150,000 worth of quarried Italian marble, and that's probably way low for that big of a block. It's prohibitive. Back then, it was patronage. It was like somebody brought Michelangelo
Well, that's what I mean. Like, instead
what
of
he needed.
commissioning a little digital art, have someone commission a cool sculpture.
I'm sure that there are great sculptors that still exist, and they do a lot of commish work for, and it's probably not even really, because like there's sculpting and then there's casting.
Yeah.
So, right, I think that there's a lot of people that do that. That's how, it wasn't Picasso.
Yeah.
Like Picasso, when he did sculpture art, he would do one, and then it would be used as a template to fire a bunch of authorized copies, right? And so that sort of thing, I could see that coming back, but I do think there's probably a lot of artists that are really good at working with stone that can make whatever you want. Some rich guy wants a marble statue of himself looking like a Greek god. Somebody's got to be able to make that. So those people are out there, but how many can the market support?
What if we could create a marble that's cheaper, like a synthetic marble? Then that would open it up.
Or if like 3D printing technology gets to the point where we can assemble elements out of base elements, right? So you put in carbon and nitrogen and whatever it takes to make marble, and the 3D printer literally just makes a block of marble.
It would probably take like weeks.
At first, yeah, but you see what I'm saying? Like a fabricator, getting closer to a general fabricator. Yeah. At that point, you might see a resurgence in that sort of thing. But right now, the average person can't get their hands on a block of marble to practice under and learn on.
They could get their hands on metal.
Metal sculptures are different, though. Like, the rich guy doesn't want a metal sculpture out back. He wants a Greek marble Roman emperor, him holding an apple with a fig leaf over his little cock sculpture. You know, there's people out there that do it. But how much does the market support? And how much can people fuck around with it? That's the question. The answer, when you say digital art made with Photoshop or other tools, massively people can fuck around with it. The art comes to carving fine marble. Maybe fucking like 300 or 400 people live in the area where these quarries are at and have a generational line of carving and sculpture and marble work. Right? If you don't have that, if you weren't born into one of those families or towns, how the fuck do you even get your hands on a block of marble to learn to do it? So how accessible an art form is based on raw material. It's one of the reasons why pottery is very popular. It is hard to be good at pottery, but a lot of people pick it up and eventually learn it because the tools are easy. Clay
A lot of places they'll let you just, here's your clay spinny thing, here's the kiln.
Yep.
It's got to pay for the clay or whatever.
And the shit you need if you want to get into it is not prohibitive. Those little spinning wheel things and shit, you know, are a few $100.
And like a lot of places, like
you go to the craft store and get a big block of clay. it's, you know, maybe 50 or 60 bucks for a big giant thing that'll make 5 or 6 or 10
The
pieces
main
for
thing
it.
that needs to be outsourced is just the kiln, because you can't just install a
Right.
kiln.
But
into
there are places where you could take it.
Yeah.
And there are ways, if you've got money and a place to put it, where you can make a single fire kiln super easy. It's just easier now to do it than it ever was before, right? To have your own kiln. As a lapidary rock hound, it is super hard and expensive to work with rocks. Any mistake is unforgiving. Yes, that's my point, right? How would you expect somebody to learn to be a fine marble carver? Like, who's got access to the money to learn how to do that? Who's going to finance it? You know, didn't used to really be an issue. I used to go to an art league just to use their kiln. Yeah, my mom used to do pottery when I was a kid. She loved doing ceramics and pottery, and she would take her stuff. I don't remember where, but there was a kiln. And she would get it all prepared and stuff, and then take it to the kiln and fire it, get a glaze on it. She still has a few of the things she made back when I was a kid. She has these little Snow White and the Seven Dwarf ceramics outside. If you look for them, they're all around her garden. And yeah, then she used the whatever it was, the pay $5 and you can fire something in the kiln thing, whatever it was. Is it true art majors in college sometimes never find good jobs in their field? See, here's the problem that I have with people that fuck on people that get esoteric degrees. And I would consider like anything other than basically like an art education degree to be esoteric. There is this heavy expectation that there's an immediate monetary reward for getting an education. And certain fields, that is true. They're always going to need
medical degree.
Right, they're always going to need accountants.
Yeah.
So if you spend the time and effort and money and dedication that it takes to get your CPA license, you're always going to be in demand, right? It comes with a paycheck. But the expectation that every single thing that you can study and dedicate your study to has to come with an immediate payoff and paycheck is more of a product of a capitalistic society where people have to invest thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes in their education. That shouldn't happen. You shouldn't go in the hole and end up, oh shit, my fucking indigenous pottery art degree isn't making me money. If you love indigenous pottery and art, there should be a facility by which you can just study that and do it, and you don't have to worry about the profit motive, right?
Well, like, there's even, like, non-art degrees where, like, the degree itself doesn't guarantee anything. Like, a business degree, while it sounds practical, you need to be way better at making connections with people to put that to work.
Right, and people don't walk blindly into that kind of a major either. Let me tell you how it works if you've never been to college, and you can back me on this. But,
I mean, I went to a specialty college where there was only one major.
Sure, but even so, you had a counselor. Did you have like a class counselor that helped you, at least when you on your first fucking semester, to get your classes picked? And
well, I mean, there was only.
Well, you were going to a special.
Yeah,
you're going to a trade school.
Yeah.
So that's different.
Yeah, there was no real choice. It was just
at a public college, right, or I guess a private.
Majors and shit.
Before you even get to pick your shit, if you're a freshman coming in, it's your first year of college. You have to go sit down with somebody from the university who will talk to you about what you want to do. And it's not picking your major. You don't even pick your major. They will tell you right there, like, it's good to have an idea. And we can definitely pick some classes that help facilitate that a little bit. But you're not going to pick your major until, sophomore year. You really want to be a year, halfway through sophomore year before you declare, is what they will tell you. A lot of times, because you've got so much general ed to get through that there's no point. And you might find something in that general ed that pulls you a different direction. That's one of the beautiful things about an education. You might walk in assuming I want this, but because it's so broad, you might find something else. And so and that person will warn you, like once you get to that sophomore year and it comes time for you to start to declare major, that person will warn you about esoteric majors. It's not like you walk into it blind or they sell you a bad bill of sale. They will be like, look, this is great. Indigenous pottery art is wonderful, and it's great that we offer that as a major here. But you need to know that your ability to work in that field is probably going to be limited to academia and teaching. And in order to do that, you're going to have to pursue even further education beyond your degree. Right? So they warn you straight out. It's not like anybody you just blindly trip into a gender studies degree without knowing you're not going to make money.
People go more blindly into things like business degrees because they think, oh, it's just going to be applicable.
Because there is a presumption that you're going to get hired by a place because they want you because you got a degree in business. And that's not always the case. No. Business degree is one of those things. It can be super helpful, right? It really can get, but it requires more specialization.
Yeah. And it requires you to make connections.
Yes.
Because
you have to work the business, and you have to eat shit for 5 or 10 years and learn the business, and then you make money. Yeah. That's how it works. And a lot of people aren't prepared to eat shit.
Yeah, it's not, like you said, a CPA thing where it's just like tailor-made plot.
Right. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. It's like the whole idea is there's an endless need for these people and a dwindling supply, so you're always wanted. A nurse, a cop, a fireman. There's always probably going to be a slot for you somewhere if that's what you dream of doing. But if you dream of being an actor, a painter, a poet, an archaeologist, it's like the path to that dream is different. It's not as direct as just, I love numbers, I'm going to be a CPA. I love law, I'm going to be a lawyer, right? There's a very clean and direct path to those things because it's...
Well, even with those degrees, like with law, you got to have some people skills to get into a thing.
Right, yeah, absolutely. You're going to have to...
Unless you just want to be a public defender.
Yeah, which you like that? Look, dude, all respect.
Yeah. You're not going to make a ton of money.
No, and it's going to suck because you're going to be overloaded and not able to devote the time you need to your clients, but they're needed. And being a devoted public offender could be the start. Sorry, not public offender. Public defender. Right. That's defending a public offender. No. Being a public defender could be a stepping stone to being on that side, right? Yeah. So that if you do public defense, but maybe defense is not really what you're into, you want to step up. Where do you think the DA's office pulls prosecutors from, right? If you're a talented defense lawyer, the DA is looking at what you're doing for the city and going like, well, why don't we get this guy over here on the other fucking side? And if you're not married to the idea of being a defense lawyer, boom, you just stepped up just because you were really good at your shit job. How important is it to find your true passion young? Not important at all. This idea that there's some sort of ticking clock on when you're going to be valid and you have to have this done by this year, it's just such bullshit. It wasn't true for me. Never was. And it's not true for a single person I can point to that I know. It's just like it happens at different times for people. And I got to be honest with you, some people spend their whole lives looking for it and never find what you would call true passion about anything.
Or someone will find a passion and then they get sick of it and they got to find another passion.
Right.
Like there's people that, get sick of medicine and they do something else.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's not as cut and dried, is the point. It's just not as cut and dried as people want to portray it. So, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing with my life until I was like 35 years old. And even then I had to figure it out. Paul, who has that climate activist you've mentioned several times in the past influencing some of your Derek Jensen?
Doesn't mean you agree with everything he says, but...
I'm tired of qualifying shit. If I tell you I like a philosopher and you think that that means that I think that he speaks nothing but truth and is correct on everything, you're too retarded to have a fucking conversation with me anyway. I'm tired of having to qualify shit like that. It's like, who's that guy that you like that really like you said influenced your positions on a lot of things? Oh, Derek Jensen. But I gotta tell you, here's a laundry list of things I don't agree with Derek Jensen on. Like, fuck that.
Man, it's this culture of like judging you based on who you watch.
It's garbage, dude. It has nothing to do with who you watch. Never mind. Well, you know what? I'm gonna tell you this anyway. Who you watch is not a personality trait. Whose merch you got isn't a personality trait. Who you waste your time doom scrolling and watching isn't something that is part of a discernible personality trait. So it doesn't matter. Who you're influenced by and listen to and who you like in a philosophical way only matters in super extreme cases. Right?
Yeah, like if you're watching a Nazi, we're gonna assume that
if you're spouting Nazi shit and you ask me a question like that and I give you a bunch of Nazi names, yeah, we're talking about something different, right? When you're talking about somebody whose philosophy lines up, is wild in some areas, and I just fundamentally disagreeable to me in others, right? Like, I shouldn't have to qualify that, right?
the truth about philosophy is every philosopher seeks to disagree with every other philosopher.
Is that true? That's your philosophy. My philosophy on philosophy is this, and I love this, because people take the term philosopher, and because it sounds old and Greek, they put it up on a big marble pedestal. Either everyone is a philosopher or no one is. That's my fucking philosophy on philosophy, baby. You're a philosopher, I'm a philosopher, she's a philosopher, he's a philosopher. We're all fucking philosophers, so let's get it. Everybody has a creed. Everybody. Everybody has a creed. They have a center of belief, how they have a vision for the world.
They have, like, red lines. Like, if you, like, would you argue that, like, people's standards for a relationship are kind of philosophy?
Absolutely. Interpersonal philosophy. Listen, I have a fundamental belief that a lot of people find disagreeable that informs my worldview more than any other belief, and it was a massive meteorite that hit my life. And it was, everything is psychology. Everything is psychology. I was so resistant to that because on the face of it, it sounds like you're saying everything exists in a world inside of your head. And that's a very disagreeable thing to sell to somebody. But it's the truth. What we see is an interpretation of what our brain thinks things should look like. What we feel about an issue is a result of endless psychological checks during your life, right? And influence. Your mother, your father, your grandparents, how you heard your uncles talk, how your friends, what are their tendencies, right? Everything is psychology. Everything's up here. So if we sit on that as truth, right? Then it connects to what we were talking about earlier. Everyone is a philosopher. If everything is psychology, then nobody can exist without having a creed.
Yeah.
You have to know and believe and think something to even move in this society.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone is a philosopher and everything is psychology. Is a star forming million miles away psychology? No, right?
But our interest in finding that out is psychology.
But how we perceive that is psychology, right? So you're probably a guy, Drew, that thinks that you're probably, and I'm not shitting on you for this, you're probably like a Sagan type of guy that thinks that is this beautiful truth of the universe. But how you perceive that beautiful truth of the universe and how your human mind comprehends the idea of the birth and death of a star that's 700 million light years away, right?
There's other people that would argue that's just not true.
As a pessimist, I would say, wow, entropy.
Yeah.
Everything dies, even the stars, even the very light from the heavens winks out of existence. Entropy is God. Entropy is the law. Right? You might look at it and go like, holy fuck, what a wide and expansive, mysterious universe we have. What secrets could we learn if we could just go there and study it, right? Everything is psychology, my friend. Everything. Your perception of a fact matters more than the fact. What your brain does with a fact, to the limited extent that a fact can exist in a deterministic universe. Fact, right? How you perceive a fact and how your brain rationalizes and uses that fact is entirely psychological and entirely philosophical as a subset. So it's like, I don't mean to invoke names, but let's take a dude like Destiny, right? Who is a very logical guy, or at least he prides himself on being like, I want to sit and have these debates, right?
I want to sit and research.
Right. I want to research and be super informed by my research. I'm not shitting on it. It's a good thing to do. But if you watch Destiny for 5 fucking minutes, you see a bundle of raw nerves and psychology. It is not the fact that he's armed with all of these facts that makes him compelling. It is the psychology of what he does with those facts, how he interprets the world through the lens of those facts that he's collected.
Well, like the whole Israel-Palestine thing, people have access to the same information, but they interpret it very differently.
Right. Well, it's not even that. People live in media bubbles.
Yeah, like they pick the information.
Right. So there's a good chance, and I'll set aside Destiny. There's a good chance a lot of people in the IP debate, right, that are taking Israel's side aren't even looking at places that would publish a story about a Palestinian child's legs being blown off.
Yeah.
Right? So they're not even seeing the horror.
Well, like you pointed out with propaganda, propaganda isn't necessarily lies. It's carefully selected facts a lot of the time.
Yep.
There's lies too, but they're also carefully selected
facts that are presented with other facts omitted.
Yeah.
Facts that are presented in a way that throws other facts in the background.
Yeah. Like I said, you can make an argument that America's the worst country in the world or the best country in the world.
And then both are correct because everything's psychology. It's all about how you perceive it. There's no way to take an account of the sins and transgressions of a country, right? There just isn't. Fundamentally, there's no way to do it from the lens of another country that you would have to do the same too. It's all going to be about your bias. It's all going to be about how you justify these cruel acts, right? And how you refuse to justify them.
Everyone thinks they're right. That's what the everything in psychology is.
That's another aspect of it, yes. Dunning-Kruger is part of that as well, right? The people that are less correct have a tendency to believe that they are more correct than the people who are more correct. People who are more correct, well, I guess more correct might not be the way to put it. Yeah, that is. People who are more correct on average about things have a tendency to underestimate their intelligence and aptitude. People who are less correct on average about things have a tendency to overestimate their intelligence and aptitude. So what you have is smart people that think they're retarded and retarded people who think they're geniuses. And that is a good 60% of the milieu of humanity operating on that alone. and tell me everything isn't psychology, right? Name me a problem on this planet, and I will bring its driver down to psychology. I will bring its motivation down to psychology, and I will give you 8 different psychological interpretations of it. But you want to tell me that everything isn't psychology, right? Nobody's arguing with me in here. I'm not, at least I haven't read anybody argue. I'm just saying. It's a very disagreeable position philosophically for people. But it's the wisest thing that anybody ever told me.
Well, like, there's this perception in some people that saying it's all in your head means it's not real.
All right, and then we start to get really deep if you want to pick at the fucking bones of philosophy.
But I'm just saying, like,
what is real?
What I'm saying is, like, that's why people are resistant to the idea everything is psychology, right? Because of this idea that if it's in your head,
it's fake.
Real. Yeah.
Because you can have experiences in your head that aren't real. So saying everything is psychology, they misinterpret that as, oh, if you imagined it, it's real. That's not what I'm saying. Psychology is oftentimes subconscious. It drives you without consciously thinking about it.
Yeah. Like, you don't consciously think, I believe this because my mom said this. Right.
And you don't consciously think, I am directly offended by white people using the N-word. You just are. It's a reaction. Right? You have to understand that we as humans basically know nothing. All right. Look out. Look out. We got a Socrates over here. The only thing that I know is that I know nothing.
Did you ever have like a moment in class where they had you like actively practice the Socratic method?
Not until college. Yeah.
Because they did that in like elementary school with me.
It's wild. That's so cool. I actually think that's really neat and smart. I didn't even learn about the Socratic method until college. And and there really wasn't like any kind of like group work. Did you group up with people?
Yeah, it was like we got all the chairs
I would have
in a
loved
circle
that.
And Socratically questioned each other.
It was just, I learned what it meant to Socratically question. I never got to practice it. I think that's cool. That is really neat that I think things like logic and psychology and relationships, not just sexual relationships, I think those things ought to be broached earlier and more, I think they need to be woven in with the same intensity that we teach STEM.
Yeah.
100%.
Like, you mean like practicing interviews or like?
I mean, like, okay, so let's just go to like kindergarten.
Yeah.
How would you put that into kindergarten terms? I think they should lean super heavily, not just on language and math and the foundaries of that. Obviously, you want to lay that groundwork. I think that they should start talking about what it means to be a brother, what it means to be a sister, what it means to be a mom, what it means to be a dad, what it means to be angry, and what it means to be sad, and what is appropriate, what are appropriate ways. I know it sounds lame, but these types of things that little kids shows sometimes try and reinforce. Yeah. Kids need to hear that from the adults that they look up to as authority figures. Because I don't care how bad your little kindergartner is. I used to work at the school district. I've walked into classrooms, bro, it got to the point where they didn't even notice me when I walked into a good kindergartner teacher's classrooms. Every last one of them. And she's directing the whole thing, and their little minds are like sponges. And so it's like introducing people to the appropriateness of different types of relationships. What does it mean? What's the expectation? What's good? What's bad? It's not done enough.
Yeah. Well,
and then,
do you feel like that they send kids away too often rather than like examining the problem? Like, oh, someone's being too loud in class, go to the principal.
Yeah, there's less of that now. Kids that are routinely antisocial in class are typically sent through a process that includes a school psychologist or a school nurse that is a psychologist that will spend time with them, assess them, and provide a diagnosis if need be to the parents. So that a person that shouldn't be in a general class that needs specialized education is going to get it. So there is a stopgap for that didn't exist. There was no school psychologist when I was a kid. So that is good. It's good that we've added a layer of assessment.
But do you think like that should be examined in class? Like someone has an outburst, they go to the psychologist, and do you think the teacher?
Not immediately. The teacher is the first stopgap, and little kids are going to have an outburst. If it's routine and systemic, then the teacher should refer the kid not to directly the principal, but like to the school nurse to get a psych assessment done and all of that, right? I think that should be on the teachers, and teachers need training in psychology to the level that they're able to know when it's time to do that. Not diagnostic, but they need to be aware of the things that could be happening with that child. So they need to have a basic knowledge of ADHD and how it expresses in children.
Abuse,
autism, abuse, oppositional defiant disorder, verbal abuse, all of that. They need to know all, and teachers do. They are taught that stuff. That's part of your teaching degree. You take child psych, you take child development, you take all that shit. But that needs to be doubly reinforced. And the teacher's the first port of call. They're the first mandatory reporter, the first alarm bell, the first whistle blow, right? But they're not the end goal. The teacher can't stop class and psychologically help this kid.
Well, I meant like after the kid goes away, so they talk to the class about like why that was wrong, and
they usually do.
Yeah.
If there's a big outburst, most of the time the teacher is going to talk to the class about what happened and why it's wrong. But yes, I think teachers should be more frank when they can be about what that is and what happened, so that it destigmatizes some of those things. Yeah. I'm not saying like out what the kid has, but maybe explain, this kid, it's unfortunate when that happens. And ultimately it was a bad decision, but, Timmy has, Timmy is different in this way. And however you want to explain it. I think we need to do that to destigmatize mental illness a little bit. So people understand that some people they have problems that are above their ability to deal with them in the proper way, right? That needs to be learned. There needs to be some empathy for those types of people. So I'm all for that.
Did you ever have the screaming teacher though?
Oh yeah. Screaming teacher. Dude, I saw some wild shit. I've told the story, but there was a kid named Dusty who clearly was like ADHD and maybe like even, I don't even know, worse. But my teacher, Miss Ragnetti, tied him to a fucking chair with a jump rope because he just wouldn't stay in his seat, because she knew, and I'm not trying to say that was right, but I think she knew that sending him to the principal wasn't working and there was nothing else she could do. She thought he was better off being in that class, forced to listen, than being able to run around and fuck with everybody. But
I had one teacher that literally stood up on the table and gave the whole class a berating.
Yeah, that happened to me in high school. When was it for you?
Elementary.
Oh my fucking God. That's different.
Yeah. I literally climbed up on the table and started screaming.
How like explicit was it?
She was literally pissed off about the randomest shit, like people sniffling. She said that got on her nerves.
So she was just fucked up.
She was like, get a goddamn tissue.
Did she get fired or moved or anything? Nope. Damn. Yeah. That's a meltdown. That's a meltdown. That's a meltdown right there. Everything's a meltdown these days, but that's definitely a meltdown right there. That's a full meltdown. Yeah, my teacher, and I'll even say his name because I think he passed on. Monsieur Pia, P-I-A, was my French teacher. in high school, and he was flamboyantly, well, maybe not flamboyantly, but like he was effeminate. Let's just put it that way. I don't know if he was, I assume, in fact, I know he was gay, right? He was a gay guy because that's what the meltdown was about. People would say like faggot under their breath to him, make jokes about him being gay and shit. And one day we were in class and I can't even remember which kid did it. Somebody said some shit to him and he did that exact thing. Got up on his desk and he was like, you know what? I am a faggot, you little fuck. You little bastard. Fuck you. Fuck you. Suck my dick. Fuck you. And fuck all of you little motherfuckers. Blah, blah, blah. Blew up at like literally full nuclear meltdown. And like the rest of us that weren't, I never did that to Monsieur Pia. I never did that to him. Because I wasn't that type anyway. I wasn't gonna be like mean to somebody that wasn't my friend over there. Like there was like I will admit that there were for friends that I would rib that way, but I wasn't looking to actually hurt somebody's feelings. I wouldn't like that with Monsieur Pia, but like he flipped and he was gone. He didn't get fired, but he was on
like a leave or whatever.
He didn't. That was my sophomore year. That was my junior year that happened, and he wasn't back my senior year.
Yeah.
But he came back for a while.
I will say the most justified outburst by a teacher was when one of my teachers was poisoned. She gave a whole screed to the class like, you gotta fucking say something if you see or hear something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's deserved.
Like, the kids that did it got in trouble and caught, but, like, her problem was, like, I know some of you knew that this was gonna happen. You know, say shit.
Yeah. Do you drive a Harley or own a comic book store? I actually, this is wild, I own a custom Harley shop / comic book shop. And, yes, before you ask, right around December 1st, I turn into Santa. Before you cover. And yes, I'm related to Hagrid from Harry Potter. What else? Let me just cover it all. Can I just cover it all? Him have beard. Him like Hagrid. Him do Harley shop. Sup, dude? Sup? Did I cover every base there? I think I did. Yes, I am a wizard. Fat Gandalf. What else? Jack Black. That one really gets my goat because I hate that motherfucker. Icebreaker. Ice broken. I like you, dude. I like you, dude. But do you have to swear so much? Queso. I forgot that one. Lol Queso. Why do I hate Jack Black? Because he's a backstabbing punk piece of sellout shit. He stabbed Cage in the back to keep his Disney movies so he could keep cranking out crap like the Minecraft movie. Oh yeah, I'm Fat Jesus too, yeah. Fat Jesus. I think that's all the bases. Yeah, I hate Jack Black because I'm sick of his shtick, and he's a backstabbing punk. I'm on Team Cage. Cage was the soul of the D, dude, and fucking Jack sacrificed. Who's next? No. Yeah. Well, KG is the guitar player in Tenacious D. One half of the band. And his, Cage said something like, I hope that, because it was like the day that Donald Trump almost got assassinated, and Cage said something like, I hope the next guy has better aim or something. Right? And the whole fucking world was like, fucking Jack Black. You know what I mean? And Jack Black could have just been like, fuck you. Cage can say what he wants. Free speech, motherfucker. Eat a dick. He was joking. He could have been anything like that. He would have lost his fucking Disney movies and his Pixar movies. He wouldn't be playing the fat, pot-bellied, anthropomorphic pig in your next favorite Pixar movie. He wouldn't be Bowser anymore, right? But he would have stayed true to his fucking principles, and he'd still have a friend, and he'd still have a fucking fan base that wasn't a bunch of 12-year-olds. He made his choice. He made his choice, and the choice was clear. Regardless, when Cage represented their band, he shouldn't have wanted to be. You know what, dude? You back your bro, dude. Being edgy is part of being a fucking American. Deal with it. He said some crazy shit, and they want to too soon him. Fuck you. Dude, 10 years from now, that joke will be fucking... Somebody will weave that type of humor in about that very incident. You want to you take your homies back, and you protect free speech. That's bro code, man. And he broke bro code right in my face so that he could be Minecraft Steve. Yeah, they're rock stars, dude. Rock stars are supposed to say edgy shit. Supposed to do crazy edgy shit. So fuck you for being a puritanical little bitch, and fuck Jack Black for being a puritanical little sellout Disney whore that's just gonna be thrown out into every unwatchable piece of fucking soulless garbage from now until he fucking finally croaks. Fuck him and his shtick. Backstabbing punk. Sellout. Sellout. All right, I'm out of here. Fuck you.